Shabbat Shalom to you from over in the east, over in the west. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Can everybody hear me, please? This is a first try, first basis. See if my new modem works for me. Great. If I do sometimes happen to have this, in and out, then please let me know, because I am connected on a cell connection, so it's not a regular Wi-Fi, but I believe that it should serve pretty good. So our parsha today is Ve'Etchanan, which is from the book of Deuteronomy chapter 3 verses 23, and I wanted to quickly go over the passage because it's really, really important. And it says in Deuteronomy chapter 23 verse 23, and I besought Yahweh at that time, saying, O Adonai Yahweh, you have begun to show your servant your greatness and your mighty hand. For what arrow power is there in Shemayim or in earth that can do according to your works and according to your strength? I beseech you, let me go over and see the good land that is beyond Jordan, that goodly mountain in Lebanon. But Yahweh was angry with me for your sakes and would not listen to me. And Yahweh said to me, enough of this, speak no more to me on this matter. Get up into the top of Pisgah and take a good look westward and northward and southward and eastward, for you will not be allowed to go over the Jordan. Okay. Give me a moment. I'm just going to shut my door. Okay, so having said that, here is something very interesting, very, very important in this particular parsha, in this particular chapter of the book of Deuteronomy. I have so many people disturbing me over here, can't keep coming out of the room. So the whole point of this parsha here is this, that when we seek God not externally, internally. The problem is today that the whole world is stuck with different religions, different religious systems, and they want to seek God outside of themselves. When you seek God outside of yourself, there's two things going to happen. One, your life will be miserable. Two, you will never find that God, because you're seeking that God outside of yourself. God is within, and when you seek God within, and that is when God will reveal Himself to you. And when you go seek God outside, then you will always find problems in that area. Now today, just to give you a brief, it was really interesting at this side of the country, because the Muslims are celebrating their holy festival, which commemorates the giving of Abraham's son to God in a sacrificial form, in which a ram was replaced with Abraham's son. So Abraham is shown to be this obedient servant of God that is utmost obedient, listens to God, does what God asks him to do. He takes his son when God asks him to sacrifice his son. And this is a question that I dealt with over here by some Christians. And they were like, well, why did God summon Abraham to bring his son? What was the purpose of that sacrifice? And they wanted to prove that this was in some way trying to prove that Jesus is the Messiah, or Jesus resembles that son. And I explained to them, I said there are several problems with this particular understanding. Number one, when God asked Abraham to bring his son, if you're trying to follow types, and if you're saying Jesus, Yeshua of Nazareth, if he's supposedly God's son, then everybody else is God's son as well. He's not the only one. So I said the problem is this: when you apply that, that narrowly with Abraham's son, well, Abraham took his son on a 3 days journey. Did Jesus of Nazareth go on 3 days journey before he was crucified? No. I said, did the people put him on a altar that they made of wood and try to, cut his throat and burn him? Because that was what Abraham was about to do. Abraham had put a pile of wood on a makeshift altar, and he was about to cut his son's throat. And then the angel said, don't cut his throat. And then that place was replaced with a ram. So I said, how do you try to fit an analogy of Abraham's son with Jesus of Nazareth? Is beyond me, because the whole thing contradicts everything else that happened at supposedly Mount Moriah versus at Mount, or at Golgotha, which is what the Christian terminology they use. So I said, number one, Jesus was charged with blasphemy. Was Abraham's son charged with blasphemy? No. Number two, Jesus was put on a tree or some kind of a implement called a cross. Was Abraham's son put on a cross? No. So Abraham's test was to do with his fidelity. Now, they say, well, Jesus died on the cross for our sin. I said, well, who was Abraham's son dying for? Because he was dying for nobody's sin. There was no such thing in the mindset of Abraham. Shabbat Shalom, Media, and all the Rabbim that are present in the room. So in idea to understand this, I explained to them that you are totally taking everything backward and misapplying it. It doesn't apply like that. You cannot fit a circle into a square. It just doesn't fit. So I explained to them that Abraham's test, why did God command Abraham to take his son? Because that's what was being done in the day. The nations were taking their sons, their firstborn sons, or their beloved sons in this case, and they were taking them for sacrifice to their gods. So God did exactly the same thing with Abraham and said to him, take your favorite son, because Abraham already had 7 sons. It's not like this was his first son. So I said, when he had this 8th son, the 8th son who was supposed to be at the time Abraham's son to carry his lineage, carry the property from him, carry the faith of Abraham forward. And therefore, it cannot be applied at a later time, and there was no sin involved. This was a test purely to see if Abraham is obedient to God, and the test was similar to the day. It was what was happening around him. God couldn't create a new test of something that wasn't happening at that place. It had to be something similar, same, so it had to match the culture of the day. And the only reason that test came about was because Satan, has said to God that Abraham is only faithful to you because you love him and you benefit him and you give him things, similar to what had happened in Job's time. And so God had said, I'll put a test before Abraham and he will do whatever I tell him. And so Abraham did whatever he told him. Hence why Abraham passed that test. And it cannot be misapplied to try to fit it to Jesus of Nazareth, which is something totally different. So that was kind of my discussion with the Christian/Messianic group. And of course they have no answer to that, because when you speak to people about what the Bible actually says to what they actually believe, you find out that they're two different things. The Bible says one thing, people want to believe another thing, and the twain don't match. So having said that, I come back to the actual verses of Deuteronomy here, chapter 3, is to seek God within yourself. When you seek God within yourself, you're likely to be successful. Now, you're going to hear many voices. Let me speak about voices. When you hear many voices, whose voice do you hear? So, I guess this is going to be the title to this. Whose voice do you listen to? When you have many voices running in your head, you need to listen to one voice. You can't listen to 3 or 5 different voices. Because if you listen to 3 or 5 different voices, you're going to be looking to go into 5 different directions. One voice might say, go north. One might say, go east. One might say, go south. Another one might say, go west. And on top of that, you may have, other directions or other instructions being given by different voices. So that will lead to confusion. Babylon. That's Bible. That's basically what the Babylon word comes. And this is where a lot of our people are confused. And what they end up doing is they end up taking the different voices and end up practically defeating themselves by themselves. So you don't need an enemy to defeat you. When you're defeating yourself, all you need is yourself, because you're following different voices. So the Kohen's voice in the gate is God's voice in the gate. And you're to follow that one voice. You can't say, well, I use this and I got one voice and I use another and I got another voice. And then you stop following those voices. Somebody brought a question to me this week and said, can you tell us about the demons that King Solomon controlled? King Solomon controlled demons. You may not be aware of that, because there are legends, and these legends are true, that King Solomon did control demons. He was able to there was about 72 demons. There's the 72 names of God, but there's the 72 demons that King Solomon controlled. And there were 72 demons that King Solomon was able to lock up in a copper barrel, and he was able to put it into the river that was in Babylon, so that they would remain buried in the river and no one can access them. But what happened, the Babylonians, when they dried the riverbed and they got to that barrel, because they had heard there was a copper barrel there that one of the kings of Israel had put, and they were like all anxious that, there's going to be a lot of treasure in it. They all wanted to get to the treasure. So they opened this barrel, they forced this barrel open, and of course, that's what happened. The 72 demons got free. And so now they roam the earth. So yes, there is such thing as demons, and they do exist. And people do try to control them. So a Christian man came to me saying to me, can you teach me how to control demons? And I said, you must be kidding. I said to him that, number 1, you're not my student. Number 2, I'm not here to teach you demonology. Number 3, this is not something to be taken lightly, because this is something that the mature, the very thorough person will deal with, and only very seriously and very strictly, because if you go wrong a little bit in that area, you're going to destroy your life and maybe other people's too. So I explained to him that you can just forget about it and go back to your Christian church. And so this is the kind of thing that people are interested in over here. They want to learn about magic, demonology, about how to do this and how to do that. But rarely do they even consider, they're least interested in the Bible side. They have very little knowledge in that area. If you ask some of these so-called pastors, that exist over here about, so-called doctrines they teach, they hardly even have knowledge of why they teach those doctrines. They just teach them. It's just like a parrot reciting verses from the chapters of the Bible. Anyhow, so that's that. So I explained to the audience, I said, well, you don't want to go where, I will not let you go so quickly into that area, because it's a dangerous area. It's not an area that you want to put your foot in, because demonology is something very serious, and it can be very harmful to people who mistakenly enter it. And I've read reports in the past of people who've tried that and they've ended up in all sorts of problems. So I don't recommend it. Basically, I don't recommend that you even attempt to try this. Now, seeking God. The passage is very clear that in order to seek God, you've got to seek God internally. Now, the Torah is not going to go into detail of how to do it, because this is where the Torah had a priesthood, and the priesthood was an enlightened priesthood, knew what to do and where to do it and how to do it. So when it says something like, and I bestowed Yahweh at that time, chapter 3 of Deuteronomy, verse 23, and we can take a look at it. We can take a look at it, what it actually means to what you actually perceive. No, I don't reject all oral Torah, not at all. There are many areas of oral Torah which are very good, and I do respect them, and I would teach them too. Those areas that are good in oral Torah. Like I said, not all things that are bad, and not all things that are good. So you got to choose things that are good, and you got to reject things that are bad, and that's how I deal with it. So now coming back to chapter 3, we said it was verse 23. We said, and I sought, and the word that I used there is Ve'Etchanan, El Yahweh. This is very important. Ve'Etchanan El Yahweh. Ba'it Hahi Lemur. And then your Bible's translated as, and I besought the Lord, or maybe it might say, let me see how the King James translates it. It translates it like, and I besought the Lord at that time, saying, etc. Besought. The word besought is used over there for the word Etchanan. Let me go down to it. And I besought. Actually, here is the interesting part. You don't like this part. The word Ve'Etchanan, or the word Hanan, which is the actual root word in this particular passage, it actually means to bend down, to stoop lower. That's actually what it means. So imagine what the word is actually telling you to what it's actually saying. It's actually saying to bend down, to stoop down. In other words, like I said earlier, it is to seek the God of Israel, or God as you call him, eternally, by stooping down. In other words, you humble yourself, you might bow down, you might sit on the floor, you might sit on your couch, and you will close your eyes, or you will seek God. This is an internal thing. This is not like you're standing and you're chanting something and you're calling out to God from outside. So that's an important bit. And that kind of brings us back to our imagination area, where we seek God through imagination, because imagination is God. And when you understand that principle, that imagination is God, you will then stop following all these pastors in the world that teach you can find Jesus outside somewhere, which is not the case. And I'm dealing with that over here right now with many people. Confused bunch. I deal with a lot of confused people over here. And now, today I wanted to quickly speak about a method that Tesla used. And you all probably know Tesla more than I do. Tesla was a great scientist. He had, I believe, over 100 patents. Very, very clever guy. And he introduced a divine numbers of 3, 6, and 9. He said that the 3, 6, and 9 are divine numbers, and through those you can achieve everything. Of course, he did achieve many things in his life. So I wanted to illustrate the point, and I would like you, some of you, to attempt. Maybe you can do it as a test. Maybe it might be something that you want to test out, as a study, and report back to me of how your test works out. And this is what I would suggest to you. There is a number of ways to apply the 3, 6, 9, and I'll give you those methods, and then you can go and test it and report back your results, which will help other people to know how effective this method is and which parts of the method are most effective than others. So number 1, the first part of the method is you take the number 3 and you write down 3 affirmations of your choice. One affirmation might be, I'm working in a job that pays me $100,000 for argument's sake. That could be one affirmation. One affirmation could be, I have $1 million in my bank, or I have received $1 million. Could be another affirmation. Another affirmation could be that maybe if those of you who are seeking marriage, you may write an affirmation that speaks in such a way that says, I am married to a loving spouse and we have a great relationship together. So these are the kind of three different ways, or at least the three different affirmations that you may choose. I mean, you may not choose those three. You may choose totally different affirmations. You might choose, for instance, some people want to buy a house. So they may say, I am living in my beautiful home, or I'm living in a beautiful 3-bedroom house. Some people may want to buy a car, a vehicle, and they might say, I own and drive a beautiful luxury car, or whatever car that you're desiring. And some people might, choose a third one. It may be just to do with either relationship, money, or something else, health. Maybe somebody's dealing with an illness, and somebody could say that I'm completely healed of all illnesses. So that these are the three different types of affirmations you can put. And then the number 6 is the application of it, that I would suggest you write this on a piece of card, index card. I would say that is better because you can carry it around. You may choose to write it in your journal. If you do, whichever of those two methods, you have to then say those 6 times in the day. And those times are extremely important. They don't have to be exact to the dot. You could be a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes out. So one of the times would be it would be 3 a.m. in the morning. See, hard time. 3 a.m. in the morning would be one time. 6 a.m. in the morning would be another time. And then the other time before that would be midnight. Midnight, 3 a.m., 6 a.m. These are the most important times in history of what you're trying to achieve. Why is midnight so important? Well, you should know that in most religions today, they always have something to do with midnight. Midnight vigil, midnight prayer, midnight something. In Judaism, there is a prayer that is recited midnight or at that particular hour. Also, that is the hour which is believed to be good, to do your imagination, to do other things, because it's the quiet part of the evening. And the 3 a.m. in the morning is an extremely important time. Extremely important. Because that time, there are certain things happening in the universe that allow you to bring your manifestations in your life quicker. So 3 a.m. is an extremely important time. I know it's a very hard time to wake up for many people. They find it really hard to wake up. But you could even set that as an affirmation. If those of you are struggling to get up at 3 a.m., you could set up an affirmation that says, I get up at 3 a.m. in the morning, every morning. That could be an affirmation for you too. So the midnight, 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. is one time, and then the other times would be 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock in the evening, and 9 o'clock in the evening. These are the other 3 times that you would recite those 6 times a day, your 3 manifestations or 3 desires. The number 9, different people use it in different ways. Some people might say that 9 is the number of seconds, although I don't agree with that, because 9 seconds is not enough time to recite and hold a thought. You need to hold it for a lot longer. So I would say this is the 9 days. So you'd have the 3, the 6, and the 9. 9 is the 9 days. Now, whatever you're trying to manifest, you're actually aiming for a 9-day manifestation. Now, 9 days might seem a short time to some, but it's actually a long time in terms of what you're doing over here. You could also, one other thing you could also do is the number 3, you could take one affirmation and you could apply it in 3 different ways. So it could be, like say for health, you might write down, my body is very healthy. I deserve to be really healthy. I am very healthy. You see, that's the three different ways. Or, I deserve to be a rich man or rich woman. I am receiving large amounts of money. I am a millionaire. See, these are the three different ways that we use one affirmation. So you could use the number 3 for that particular method as well. And then, after that, I would suggest that you apply the 6 just as I described it. Start with 3 a.m., 6 a.m., and then 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. Those 3 hours. And then you apply from the evening. You can go 6, 9, and 3. Jump straight to 3. And those are the kind of the times that you want to kind of reverberate around. And you want to do it for 9 days. And then what you want to do is have 3 days break. Once you've done it for 9 days, and let's say either your manifestations happened or it's not happened. If it's not happened, then you wait 3 days. You basically detach for 3 days. And then you start again until you have met your manifestation. So again, I emphasize the point. What I have said over here, has everybody understood what I have said? If you haven't understood, I can go over some of the parts again. I don't want 50,000 emails to be coming to me saying, oh, I didn't understand what times. So write down the times. Start with 3 a.m. After 3 a.m., it's 6 a.m. And then you have a choice of either 9 a.m. or 12 p.m. You can choose either or. Both are fine. Then you start again from 6 p.m. Then you can go 9. Then you can go midnight. And the best thing to do for these is to mark it down as an alarm. You all have smartphones these days. So you can mark it as an alarm in your smartphone as a task to run for 6 times in the day, and then it'll just simply prompt you with an alarm and you go with it. Go with it. And then run that system for 369 days. Another method that I haven't really had much time to test it. I have tested the 555, and that definitely, at least for my testing reasons, did not work. I would suggest to you another way you can test it. This additional test would be to write 33 times for 3 days only, and then stop. Give yourself a break. I would preferably say give yourself a break of minimum 3 days, up to a week. You can take up to a week break if you like, minimum 3, and then start again. Now, some of you may not like to write, and that's understandable, because some people may not like to write so much because maybe they have hand problems. People who have wrist issues, they may not like to write. They may prefer to speak it. So if writing is a problem, then you only got to write this. The 369 only needs to be written one time. You don't need to write this over and over again, only one time, and the rest you speak it. Now, biblically, according to the Torah, we speak things into existence, just as God spoke things into existence, because you're counted as co-creators with God. So you speak things into existence by the word. That's very important to understand that. Now remember, when you're speaking your words, your manifestations, your desires, that technically is your word to create for yourself. So I would encourage you to test it out with the 369, and also to test out if you don't mind writing 33 times in the day, then I would encourage you to test out the 3 days, 33 times, and then stop for 3 days, and then start again until that manifestation that you're desiring comes to you. Now, remember, part of the problem is going to be perseverance. A lot of the people that fail in life do not persevere, and they fail for that very reason. The other people who fail are the people who, are very keen to start, and they give up midway. They don't follow it all the way through. The third type of people that fail are those people that are listening to too many different voices. Remember, this lecture is going to be called Whose Voice Do You Listen To? So, don't listen to too many voices, because I have heard and I have read that people who follow too many voices usually make a lot of mistakes, and they don't get very far in life. And our people are guilty of that, by the way. Yeah, our people are guilty of that. Why? Because when we had the God of Israel giving us one voice, our people were trying to follow other voices as well. And when they were following other voices, they made many mistakes, and they caused themselves to stumble, and they caused themselves to fall. So, important to know, don't listen to too many voices. I've said this so many times in different ways, but some people just don't get it. I would encourage you to at least attempt to try doing one thing at a time, and then see the results before you decide to follow other voices. Because you might lead yourself to confusion. And confusion is the worst thing you can do for yourself if you're following different voices. Because what you are trying to do in your quiet time, you're trying to create a life for yourself that is going to benefit yourself greatly, to bring you into greatness. Absolutely. God isn't the author of confusion, and confusion is the word Babylon. So don't allow yourself to live in Babylon, spiritually speaking, because you can be in Babylon spiritually, which is confusion, Babel. Don't allow yourself to be in that area of your life. You need to come out of confusion, and you need to stop listening to 10 different voices. One person saying go this way, one saying go that way, one saying go behind you, another one saying go straight ahead, and then you don't know which way to go. And I have seen people like that, and I have lived with people like that. So be very careful and circumspect of what you do. I'm in the East right now, and there are a lot of different voices over here as well. And those that are following different voices are the least successful people in this country. And they're the most confused. The most confused and the least successful. Think about that for a moment. It's not like, East has everything, but it is that things come from the East and they set in the West. And so therefore, you've got to understand that one of the things I want to advise you today that I may want to maybe go over just to reiterate the point, make sure you go into your homes and look at how your bed is placed. Do not place your bed where you're lying with your head to the north. Make sure you understand that point very well, unless you want to die at an early age. If you want to die at an early age, then be my guest. Put your bed facing the north and put your head down there, and you'll kill yourself with a heart attack sooner or later. But if you want to live long and prosperous, make sure your bed is never facing the north. Your best direction to face your bed is your head should be facing west and your feet should be facing east. That's the best direction for you. If you can get that right, you already won the battle. You're already on a winning battle. But if you get that bit wrong, you're only losing spree. Because you're slowly killing yourself by placing yourself in the north. The north is the throne room of God. There is a throne room of God from every country. The north. The north is also the magnetic field of the earth. If you're like your science, people in the West, they love their science. We in the East don't give two damns about science. We just do things that we know work. And in the East, in the East they don't care about science, they care about what works. In the West, they love the science, even if it don't work. They love the sciences. So the science will tell you that the Earth's magnetic field is the strongest in the north. Hence why it pulls up in your body a lot of minerals, metals. It pulls them all to your head. And that's how you die an early death. Shabbat Shalom, Eddie. Your room is limited, okay. Facing south is perfectly fine. Yeah, facing south is perfectly fine. Just make sure that you don't place your head in the north. That's the only direction that you want to be careful about. You can put your head in the east, in the west, or in the south. Never in the north. Make sure you never do that. Make sure your mom and dad never do that. If you want to see them live long lives, make sure they never do that. Because that is critical to one's health. So I wanted to bring that point forward, because I may have spoken about it maybe, ages ago, and it's probably buried in some previous lecture somewhere. So make sure you do that. And the other thing I would advise in your home, is this, that one of the things that you should have, we've spoken about this before, you should have, of course, the 72 names of God. Why do we face them in the north? Because the north is the throne room of God. That's why we face them in the north. And the north to a human being is your brain. When you're standing upright, the north is your brain and the south is your feet. So the area that can get confusion, the area that can live in Babylon, is the area of your brain that follows all these 10 different voices and never gets anywhere. So this is why, to prevent confusion to your head, you want to make sure that you have clarity in your head. When you have clarity, for that is where we do the meditation, where I advise you to do the meditation, the midbrain, the third eye activation, which will, or the cleaning of the chakras. You clean your chakras so they can, because they are the areas that allow you to manifest fast or slow, and they are the areas that usually will help you to how fine-tune you are, is dependent on your chakra system. Like a car, if a car has got dirty oil in it, it doesn't matter how beautiful the engine looks. You can have dirty oil in the car, and I know some people who had oil in their car that never changed for 3 years. So as that, so if you have dirty oil in your car that people never change for 3, 5, or 4 years, and it doesn't matter how spick and span the engine looks, that car is going to be least efficient. Similar to the brain, if your brain's got brain fog, it doesn't matter how slick clothes you wear, brain fog means that you're not going to be manifesting much. You're not going to be generating much. You're going to ending up in all sorts of problems all the time. So I would advise to, look within. Look at how you operate. And the best times to meditate, of course, as you all know, are the morning times and the evening times. It's not to say that you can't meditate in the afternoon. Of course you can. You can do that too. But the best times to reap the most benefit is morning and evening. And if you work morning or evening, or if you between shifts, then you can go afternoon as well. That's fine. But those are the key times between 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., between 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. midnight are the best times for meditation if you can manage those times. Highly encourage you to think about that. We are over here in a kind of temporary lockdown again. We are in a temporary lockdown for another, I believe, 4 days. And I'm not sure, I don't think America is in a partial lockdown. I think most places are open. With that, I'm going to hand over to Rabbi Kefa to start with that.
You guys are using the words. You're really unconscious. Like Lion Princess says consciousness. You know, for a long time I was unconscious. You know, I was unconscious, and I really was just, I was on the hunt. I was on the search for what I now understand to be aware. To totally be aware and in tune with everything that's around, with my surroundings, with myself. So I'm not aware of myself. And just like I was talking about in this lecture, I spent a lot of time, a lot of periods of my life, trying to be aware outside of me, like seeking awareness or trying to be alive and being puzzled with being alive with things that would suit me outside of myself, like in relationships, like with material things, like even with religion. How many know what I'm talking about? And so until I became aware and understood what awareness was within myself, that's when the light bulb really came on. That's when the light bulb really came on. Is when I could really understand and could be, if I could use another A word, to be alive. Because for a long time, with how I perceive and understand it, I was dead for a very long time. I was really just dead. I was alive, but I was dead. I was dead to self. You see, I was never aware of myself, so I was dead to it. My mind just, I think you remember that song, I always feel like my mind is playing tricks on me. That's what my mind was doing to me for a long period of my life. My mind was just playing tricks on me, and I would just go with the flow of my mind, thinking that would bring me to my utopia of being aware. You know, I would utilize religion for that. I mean, and with the help and aid of my father as well, we would hop and skip from one religion to the next. It's not like that we weren't trying. The universe rewards trying, believe it or not. As long as you continue to try, or if I can use a better word, as long as you continue to test things out. You know, you test, and it may not work out for you. So you continue testing. But you get to the point, and my desire is all you get to the point where you will never stop testing. But when you do test and you find out, and you test and you find it, then you just begin to rinse and repeat, like we talked about last week. You just begin to rinse and repeat that same scenario because you know it works. I always talked about it a lot. In his lesson, he talks about, well, in the East we don't science, that's a bunch of mumbo jumbo, get too loose about science. But what they understand in the East is that when they find it, first they can continue to do that same thing over and over and over again. Because it's successful, so why change it? You see? But it's getting to that point to where you have to test it out, and you continue to test things out, knowing that they may fail. And even if they do fail, don't look at failure as being unsuccessful. Look at failure as being great experience. So then you move to the next test. You see what I mean? Again, I will submit to you that he's given us many great tools many great weapons to add to our chest. Many great tools that we can utilize. Now, what may be success for one Israelite, one child of Jacob, may not be so successful others, because we all are built and have the DNA of El Shaddai, but at the same time we're unique in our ways. Thank goodness that everybody's not a Rabbi Kefa. That's the beauty of life and being alive. And when you become aware of that, when you become aware that, okay, what works for luxury class may not work for Ohio 5, or what works for Oliver may not be suited for Adelia or a Tara. You see? Then you can't get to your same objective, which is your desire being met, but you just may go about it in a different way. Now, when we look at the Master Yeshua, when he walks the face of this earth, the Master Yah, when he walks the face of this earth, you ever notice in his miracle experiences that are noted and recorded that he did not give this formula for every person. Have any of you noticed that? Any of you know that? Okay, he didn't go to the recipe book and say, okay, for this scenario, I'm going to do this because I did this the same way with the other dude and the other woman. For each scenario, it was a case-by-case basis, and depending on the character of the individual, he would make them do different things. You see where we're going with this? That's the uniqueness of it. When you become aware, these things become clear to you. When you awake, it's not just something, it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's what will fit you and what suits you best. Yet we've been conditioned to think, and I'm coming up, that, okay, one size does fit all. Well, no. I was listening, I don't know how many of you paid attention to this, but, I'm a billionaire, and I'm a billionaire mindset. So how many of you listened to I think it was the Congress, where they brought the billionaires in from Apple, how many of you paid attention to that? From Facebook, from Google, Alphabet. How many of you listen to these billionaires talk? I love listening to billionaires talk because I'm a billionaire. I'm $1 billion. So I got billionaire mindset. I found that very interesting in what they were saying. Ruka's chin. Aquani says, remember to tell them about the Pichu bracelet. Oh yeah, sure, we'll do Aquani. I think I better get that link for that as well. Let me wind that up. So while I get this link real quick on Amazon, what did you glean from the billionaires talking as they were grilled by Congress? As they were grilled by this, again, not that there's nothing wrong with making a whole bunch of money, because there's not nothing wrong with it. But again, sometimes many folks are intimidated by billionaire status. They sometimes think, you can get too big to break it. So what they want to do is break you up. And what I find kind of ironic in the whole scenario is that, Tim Cook, Apple CEO, what he did behind that was, I don't know if you all noticed this, but if you know this, but the Apple stock is going to be broke. They're going to break it up. They're going to divide it. They're going to split it. To where there's more opportunity for people to take advantage and buy out the stock. Because it was so high, what they're going to do is split it. I think that's a great thing, right? So, but what the Congress is doing, it's like, look, you guys are getting too big for your riches, and so what you're doing is you're swallowing, is you're preventing and you're stifling entrepreneurship. Because you're getting too big, so you just buy up the mom and pop shops. So that you can continue to be big, and you don't allow the growth of entrepreneurship of other businesses. You become like the shark in the water, and you're just swallowing up everybody. Luxury class says, learn from them. Things to do it, to do. Antitrust, monopoly, the whole nine, right? But you got to understand, just because you're big don't mean you can't get bigger, or that you want to stifle, being big. There's nothing wrong with being big and being billionaire, blah, blah, blah. I don't see anything wrong with it. But to others, it may seem intimidating, or it may seem like, okay, because you prefer being big. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Because I think that's one of the biggest blocks that's out there. And preventing folks from being aware. and being awake or woke, and being connected with yourself, and being conscious. Let me get this link real quick. I'm just about there, Mr. Huh? Pull up this link, and we'll keep it moving. So what you'll find ironic as well, Hakomi, in this, what they call the T-shoe, if I'm saying this right, it's called, actually, it's Amazon calls it like a feng shui, like type of shoey type of bracelet. But if in your Mulan, put up an M if you see the Mulan. Anybody seen the Mulan show? Documented sponsor for you who have seen the Mulan show. Now, I don't know if you've seen it, Akohi, but it's I tell you, it's quite interesting because what happens is that I won't tell you the whole story, but it's a great cartoon to watch as you talk about this T-shoe bracelet. Because it was a dragon, right, that Mulan, she called upon her ancestors, and her ancestors sent this dragon to assist her and help her in meeting her desires. It's actually a dragon. And just his name was Mishu? Was it Mishu or was it? It was Moshu, wasn't it? I think his name was Moshu. That was his name. And he was a dragon, and he assisted Mulan, who was a thief, catching her father by going in and impersonating herself as a male soldier who became heroic. And this is based on a true story, by the way. They're actually doing a movie about it now, but due to the COVID, the coronavirus is kind of being delayed a little bit in it being released. But there was a dragon in this. It was a dragon in this movie that actually helped her be successful and meet her desires and made her quite successful in her story in the process. Let me copy this one. Let me paste it to you. Now this bracelet that I told you talking about is this bracelet right here. If you can see this link, you can go to this link on YouTube and on Amazon, and you can look at this bracelet. I would encourage all of you to get this bracelet. It will assist you, and I think I'll allow Hakohi. Hakohi, you want to come in and talk about this while we have this forum open real quick? You want to take the opportunity and talk about the instructions real quick? I'm going to turn the mic over to Hakohi real quick. Here's the link for the bracelet, by the way.
Okay, yeah, Chadasha for that, Rabbi Kefa. Now this bracelet, the idea behind this is feng shui as well. And what you do with this bracelet, you get it. I would put it outside in the sun. I would wash it first, because it's been handled by different people. Wash it first, put it in the sun for at least minimum 1 to 2 hours. You charge it. After you charge it, you want to wear this bracelet on your dominant hand. Might be your right hand that you write with or your left hand. Whichever hand you write with, wear it on that hand. And then what you do is you put that little dragon thing, what's called the P-shoe, you put that facing your little finger. Make sure whichever your little finger is, that's the way his head would go. And then you touch it. And you might touch it a few times in the day, because you're activating, you're thinking about your desires, your things that you want in your life, you can speak them in the air, and you touch that little dragon, because that's what's getting your information. Remember stones can speak. So you're giving something to this precious stone that has magical powers. And so therefore, you're activating things that you're wearing, and they will help you in your life. Now, make sure that you don't allow other people to touch that, because it can generate and it can pull in other people's negativity in. And that bracelet, once it pulls the negativity in, it will affect you. So if somebody did become touchy-feely on it and touched it, you want to go home or whatever your bathroom is, you want to wash it, you want to put it out in the sun again, recharge it, and then wear it. Now when you go in the mornings or in the evenings to your bathroom to to have a shower. You want to take it off, put it to one side, do your shower, come back, dress yourself, and then put that back on. Do not wear it while you're having a shower. Take it off during that time. Do not allow other people to touch it. If they do, then go through that process of cleanup and recharge. Okay? So make sure you all have one of those. We're not a sponsor of those, but I think that they are being sold at extremely high prices in some websites. They can be selling at $30 a piece, but they are not really $30 a piece. So make sure the price you pay is reasonable and it's not, hyperextended. And put that on, and that's about to change. You're about to change your life. Over to you, Rabbi Kefa.
Okay, great, Hakomi. Chadasha that Hakomi. But 1 month delivery. No worries. Also, if you look up for the Rabbi Kefa link, you can get one for $10. Okay, no worries then. Now, I'll tell you this when it comes to equipment. I'll speak on this for a minute. When it comes to equipment that's going to help me be successful. Now remember this. Think about mentality. Remember, you're aware. Now, is he? He's not in right now. I'll tell you what. When it comes to equipment, okay, say like you have a car. Now, if you have a car, and just like I told you talking about in the car, they haven't changed the oil in a week. Okay, you go to get in several months and get a car oil. Say if you have a car and it's time for you to put oil in your car, you go to the store and there's different oils there to choose from. What oil are you gonna pick to put in your car? Now this is your beloved car. You want to take care of this car like you take care of yourself. So what quality of oil would you want to put in there? Would you want to put the least expensive oil, or would you want to put the best oil? So to me, when I look at things as being aware, continue to seek awareness and want to be in a state of awareness, my desire is to get the best of the best, because I am the best of the best. And I want to utilize, and I want to have the best equipment, because when it comes to performance, I want my car to be able to perform at its optimal proficiency when I need that car to perform. How many of you go and get in your car, and every time you put your key into the ignition, you're thinking in the back of your mind, well, is this car going to start? Is it going to start? No, you're going to your car, think about it for a minute, and you do it subconsciously. You go in your car and you expect, when you turn that ignition, or a lot of these cars these days, you're not even turning the ignition. You're just pressing the key. When you press the key ring on your key, you anticipate not only that car to start, anticipate the doors to unlock, you expect that to happen. And when it doesn't happen, you're quite surprised, aren't you? You see? So, it's pertinent, it's important that you understand. Now, I know there's a lot of people out here, like with the Hidden Truth Break or the Abrahamic-Faith Bible. If you go to Amazon, you'll see that the value of the Hidden Truth Break goes complete. You'll see some folks are wanting you to circulate about, $300, $400 for those scrolls. Right? How many of you seen that before? $300, $400 or these outlandish prices. Now, and I'm of the mind that the scrolls aren't worth that. I would pay that for the scrolls, but then I can also find that the majority of the prices are not like that, and you can get the scrolls a lot at a lessened price. You see, there's a point to where you're being taken advantage of, and there's a point to somebody's just trying to totally rob you of an insane price. When the scrolls, in my opinion, are even more valuable than $400 or $500. Return to me 1,000-fold, and it continues to do so, Baruch Hashem, just from the words in our books, Baruch Hashem. And I know a lot of you will agree with that as well, listening to YouTube and live in this room. So when it comes to you or circulating the money to purchase the necessary foods that's going to assist you and being aware and give you the tools that are going to assist you in manifestation and meeting the desires of your heart, of your mind, and of self, then so be it. I would say, what a great investment, right? And I pray this to give us opportunities to do so. He says the Rabbi Kefa one will come in 2-3 days. It's Amazon Prime. Yeah, I'm an Amazon Prime member, so I get it a lot quicker. But we don't associate ourselves with it. You make the purchase, you make the circulation, and then you wait with patience for when it's going to come in whenever it's going to come in, right? But in the meantime, what I would encourage you all as well is to not get too don't get too enamored with the tools, because I want you to understand this day that and I want you to be aware that you are the tool. Now these tools that are created is instructing us and giving us instruction on and guidance on, they will assist you. But you are already the tool. You are already the number one tool. You see, because sometimes if we're not careful and we don't guard ourselves, we will put it on the tool than on ourselves. How many of you know what I'm talking about? And we will put more weight on the individual tools than we have all the capacity and capability within self. You do. Now, these other tools will just assist you. They're great assistants. You see? You know, I love having pots and pans in the house. You know, I love having my convective oven in the house. These things make my life a lot easier. A rice cooker, a pressure cooker. These things make my life a whole lot easier, and I like that. It allows me to utilize more of my periods of my life for more productive things that I want to get done and that I want to do, like my meditation, spending time with my family, watching my son grow, teaching my son many new things. You know what I mean? Spending quality time with the wife. While cooking is going on downstairs, over here. You see, and I'm going to tell you from where he's located right now that, you know, we have a lot of luxuries afforded to us in the West that they don't in the East. Now the East is coming up quick, group of them, they're coming up. But the majority of the people in the East, they don't see all these luxuries that we take advantage of in the West. They don't see them. Yet, they're just as happy, they're just as humble as they want to be. Why? It's because they realize within themselves everything takes place. They realize with the surroundings, the things that are around them, they're going to utilize those things to give them health, happiness, peace, love, and joy that surround them. And in some ways, it keeps the mindset so much better. The majority of ways, as I see it. Because it keeps you humble, it keeps you meek, it keeps you awake, it keeps you aware. Because sometimes all these facilities around us will make us unaware. And what I'm noting, and I saw a case study this week on this as well, is that once you become aware and awake, if you're not careful, if you don't guard yourself properly, you're easily pulled back into that old way of thinking or that first love that you let go of to come back and embrace the perfect law. Some folks return back to that first love. They reject perfect law for whatever rhyme or reason, or what they'll try to do is they'll try to let's just say retrofit and kind of change things that don't need to be changed in perfect law. You can make some adjustments, but you don't need to make major changes. Because remember what we talked about earlier, if it works for you, then work it. You don't need to change it. If the wheel is spinning, you don't need to recreate the wheel. Just roll with the wheel. It's the way the wheel is spinning. But as Cody said in his lecture, sometimes folks will come through for a few weeks and then they're gone. They'll come through and dibble and dabble in the perfect law. And they'll actually see some benefit. And then they'll take that benefit and not empower themselves, but they'll take that benefit and de-escalate themselves and go back into their former self and not stay connected to subconsciously. You'll find that happen with some folks. And you can explain it away however you want to explain it away. And you can excuse it away however you want to excuse it away. But what I want to talk about this day is something that I find very, very important and very, very critical, and something that we need to be aware of in our awareness and being awake. And I would say this, I'd make this statement. Do not only know who you are, but be aware of who you are. The interview break pros, Rabbi RSAHK has taught us who we are. I know who I am now. After spending many periods of my life not knowing that, I know who I am, and I know who I'm not. That's right. We know who we are, and we know who we're not, okay? Now, the next step is to be aware of who you are. That awareness is key. And what meditation does, and what affirming does, is it continues to connect us to our God. I don't want to use the word God this day. I prefer to use the word that's in our Abrahamic-Faith Bible. To connect us to our power. Because that's where it's almost like you taking and putting your plug, your extension to the socket. We got to plug in now. Everybody's talking about land, but most important thing that's going on in this period, this age that we're in right now, is connectivity. To be aware, we need to connect to source, to power, to the powers of Israel, to the powers of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the powers of Hashem. Now, Moses was reiterating that same point when he began to reaffirm the 10 commandments, the 10 statements, the 10 words. Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 6 says, I am Yahweh your power, not Yahweh your God. I love that right there alone is more valuable than gold dust and up the value of a $500 and $600 purchase. Circulation of a Bible, which is I am a power which brought you out of the land of Israel from the house of slavery. Look at verse 7. Again, I read from the Abrahamic-Faith Bible. And if you want to purchase that, you can make that circulation on Amazon as well. Look at verse 7 of Deuteronomy. You shall have no other powers before me. You see, many folks will disown the perfect law to go run after other powers. When they connect to the perfect law, you realize there is no other power. But there are other powers out there. I want you all to understand that. There are other gods out there. You got to understand that. How many of you realize, how many of you are aware that there are other gods out there? There are other gods. And there are a lot of means and ways that, and you got to understand this, like the Christian man that went to Hakohi wanted to be able to control demons. When first he needs to understand, like Hakohi was telling it, and I was telling in practical terms, is first you need to connect the powers first. You need to connect the powers of Israel. Before you're going to be able to subdue any of those other powers that are out there. Because these demons will disguise themselves as power. And believe it or not, the celebration that Hakohen celebrate that they're celebrating over there in Pakistan right now, amongst the Muslims, is a depiction or a history of a fairy where, in my opinion, taking place, there's some action going on and some confusion. You know, the demonic forces are authors of that type of confusion and deception. And they're trying to play tricks on your mind. Like that song, I always feel like somebody's trying to play tricks on me. You all know what I'm talking about? So there could be a lot of deception behind, and again, the demonic forces out there behind that. So if you are aware, you will understand that. Those that are aware, you will see right through that. Say, oh, I can see all of I can see that deception. I can see that disguise. How many of you have been victims to disguise in your life? Anybody in this room? I'm gonna put up a capital D on that one. How many of you have been victims of disguise? Well, someone will disguise something as something else, and you realize, oh, you're totally not what you presented yourself to be. You disguise yourself as something that you're not. You must be awake. You must be aware of these things. Because in this world, if you're not awake, you'll be hoodwinked, bamboozled by disguise and by deception. And by those negative forces that are out there, whose whole goal is to prevent you from connectivity to powers of Israel, to the powers of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, to the powers of our great prophets, to the powers of our great kings, the kings of Israel, prophets of Israel. They don't want connection to happen. They don't want you to plug in the powers. That's when you're awoke. That's when you are awake. They wanna disguise themselves as, I see a lot down here in San Antonio. They'll disguise themselves in Mary and make Mary, cry blood. Or they'll disguise themselves in a tortilla and make the tortilla look like the face of a Jesus. And before you know it, people are bowing down and they begin to worship that. And all their energy is placed into that. These are people that are still unconscious. They're not awoke. They're not conscious of lying principles. You show grace, you give thanks and show gratitude this day that you are awake, and give thanks to what thanks is due. You give thanks to the Kohen in the day who has been a major facilitator in your awakening and in my awakening, group again. I see things totally different now that I'm awoke. How many of you would agree with that statement? I see things totally different now that I'm awoke than when I was asleep, than when I was unconscious. Baruch Hashem, I give thanks for that. I totally give thanks for that. My life is totally different now because I'm in the land of the living. Baruch Hashem. I went back to powers of Israel. I went back to the powers that took our forefathers out of bondage, out of the slavery of Mitzrayim. Because you got to understand, they had powers there too, didn't they? And each power there. When you look at these religions, there's powers behind these. That's why they're other gods. As you all know, their powers are limited. We serve the powers of unlimitation, limitless, as you all know that are awake. There is nothing on the face of this earth and in the universe that you can't have. There's nothing. And believe me, there's enough to go around for all of us. And we'll never run out. When you get that understanding, when you awoke, because you're not shackled with limitation. You see? I'm going to be your cheerleader this day. Just like Moses was a cheerleader. Look what Moses said to the people before he was going to go sleep with his father. in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For you are a holy people to Yahweh your power. Not Yahweh your God. Yahweh your power. Plug into power. Stay connected to power. To source. Where you get your strength? I get it from powers. The powers of Israel. The powers of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Begin to talk power to people around you. Energy. I wrote something down that I would like to encourage you all to write down as well or to keep with you. Let me read you what I wrote down this week. I heard it from someone. Energy flows where attention goes. Energy flows, attention goes. How many of you in this room are energy? Put up capital E. Energy flows where attention goes. So my question to you who are energy is, where is your attention? Where is your attention? Another A word. Where is your attention today? I guess it's a day of A word. Where is your attention this day? And that's where your energy will flow. Energy flows where attention goes. When you look within yourself, ask yourself, where is my attention right now? Because that's where all your energy is. Is your attention on what? These bills that you can't pay? That foreclosure? That possession of that car? Or is your attention on that brand new car that you're driving in right now? That brand new house with a 2-story, 2-car garage, the doghouse in the back. Is your attention on that bank account that has 7 zeros in it? Group of shit. Where is your attention? Because that's where your energy's going to go. Think about that for a minute. Energy flows where attention goes. Where's your attention? Reminds me of military. Before the general or whoever was in charge would come out, what would everybody say? Attention! Where's your attention? Where's your attention? You ex-military know what I'm talking about. Maybe they say another phrase in the UK. Maybe they don't use that in France. Maybe they say another phrase, I don't know what they use. But in America, they say attention! And everybody would assume the position. Upright. Attention goes. Where is your attention? Utilize this in your meditation to help you focus and put your attention on those things that really matter. Because when you don't, you're going to find you straying off and veering off. Away from perfect law. Away from powers. The powers of Israel. The powers of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The powers of Moses. Understand. You are created in the images of power. See it that way. You see? I'd just like to take a survey. See if you find it more relevant to say powers than to say God. Put up a capital P if that's you. Or if you like the G word, the God word, put up a capital G if you like that word. Well, where are you at on that? Well, you see, it seems to me that in our conditioning we've been taught about God, right? But in my awakening, I've been taught about powers. I know, I'm awake, so I know about some powers. And I understand that there's the powers and that there's lesser. I understand that. I'm awake. And I understand that in the realm of powers, that there's battles going on constantly. Trying to sway, folks from one place to another place to another and trying to deceive. And trying to put on this deception. But at the same time, there's powers that's doing what? They're trying to give assistance, give guidance, positive guidance. Positive and negativity. So, Hakohi, Rabbi Kefa is equipping us with the tools that's going to help us continue to connect to source, to power. You don't believe in God? I don't have a problem with that. but connect to your power. Be happy. And however that makes you happy. I can't tell you to be like me and you're going to be happy because that may not be right for you. In your makeup, in your character. You know what I mean? It's not going to be the same for everybody. And that's okay. Just like it's okay if folks don't want to reside under the umbrella of the law. I get that. I totally get that. I totally get it. But my desire is for human nature to be happy, and whatever makes you happy. At the same time, not hurting other people. Because some folks will say, well, Rabbi, I take my happiness and beat up other folks. Well, then you need to revert your happiness into something else, because your happiness is making, at the same time, making somebody else unhappy. So don't take that in the wrong way. So we must understand that. So I think that's a pertinent, that's an awesome phrase to remember. Energy flows where attention goes. So you can ask yourself, energy, where's my attention? What is my attention on? The majority of my day. Where's my attention on? What is my attention span? How long can I stay attentive without going out there in left field or right field? And these are things that we need to work on. And continue to improve that in our position of perfection. Being connected to power. There is no imperfection in power. You have the DNA of the powers of Israel, so there is no imperfection in you as well. You just continue to what? Perfect your perfection. Move on from strength to strength, right? With the shield. So we must understand that. So, some of the limitations I'd like to talk about this day. Let me go go on and continue to further talk about what our forefather, the greatest of all time, was talking about. Moses was talking about and telling the people as well. And I'll be remiss if I didn't make this statement in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 27. When Moses, he began to give the Israelites the future, he began to tell them, the Hebrews, he began to tell them, and Yahweh shall scatter you from among among the heathen, where Yahweh will lead you. We've been led into the exile. Mistake? It's not something to us mad at. We just get right for a minute. And that's this period right now. It's a period of connectivity to powers now. Not talking about land. These people that are missing it. How you going to go back into the land yet you're not connected to power, to the power of Israel? You don't know how to utilize your energy. You don't even realize your energy yet you want to go back into the land. That's not prim and proper. That's not part of the process and procedure. So first we must connect and have that connectivity with power. And activity can go up and down sometimes, can it? So we always want to have tools in our arsenal that the Codian has given us to help us with that connectivity and to even enhance that connectivity to where we can even improve and get better. You see? Hashem. Hashem says, how does one say Hashem's name in Hebrew? Power or power? It's going to be power. Because if you go back to Bereshit, remember, we were created in the images of power. Images, not image, but images of power. So power is power. You see? We can't pin down power as a power. Power is power. As we understand it, as being awake. You know what I mean? That just opens up a whole new world for some folks, right? And it's a powerful world. And you are powerful. Don't ever see yourself as hideous because you are powerful. because you connected. Your connectivity is first. So why wouldn't you be powerful? Yet, due to limited obstacles or limitations, sometimes we see ourselves as just puny and petite. If I could use the word Oliver, sometimes we see ourselves as petite enfant. Little petite enfant. Little, you're powerful. Your greatness. You like that, Oliver? I did that for you. Your greatness, man. I want to see you smile, Oliver. Your greatness, man. You're great. You're connected to power. Because a lot of times, any different ways. Now remember, we're scattered in the nations right now. Just like Moses said and predicted and prophesied what happened, did happen. We are scattered in the nations. And we're left fewer numbers. You don't believe we're fewer numbers? Look at how many people are in this room right now. Not to say, now look at how many people are in this room right now. Now I know a lot of times you've seen a lot more numbers than that. I'm not caught up on numbers, but I'm just telling you that what Moses said was true in his prophecy, that we've been left fewer number from amongst the heathen. Without what you need. Yet with fewer number, but we're scattered all over right now. Hakoris in Pakistan, Olivers in France, Lion Princess in the UK, here in America, and we're so fewer number. But who cares about the numbers, right? But Moses said it. He said we're going to be left few in number among the heathen. And I don't mean heathen in a bad way. This is amongst those that are not awake and not connected to the powers of Israel. They're running after those other gods that we were commanded not to after in our 10 words, in the 10 statements. Deuteronomy 5 and 7. You shall have no other powers before me. No other powers. We don't need no other powers when we're connected to power. That's why that connectivity is so important. And that we don't lose that connectivity. Deuteronomy 7 and 6 says, you are a holy people to Yahweh your power. Yahweh your power has chosen you to be a treasured possession to himself above all the people that over the face that are over the whole face of the earth. My goodness. That right there just gives me encouragement off the chart. My encouragement unit just went off the chart. Blue, it just spoke and blue fuses here and there. Verse 7 of Deuteronomy chapter 7. Yahweh did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people. For you were the fewest of all people. Why does Moses keep focusing on numbers, grand numbers? Because guess what? They decided it. Well, big numbers. The consensus rules. In Judaism, that's what they'll tell you. Oh, forget about a Levite. Forget about one Levite. That's just what their mindset is. Forget about one Levite. Forget about one son of Aaron. We don't go by that today. Out of Judaism, modern Judaism goes by the consensus. The bigger numbers rule. How many of you see that taking place? The biggest vote gets the win. That's who we're going to roll with. And believe me, that's totally wrong. And this is what Moses was exhorting to us today. And in those times is that don't roll with the big number. Don't go with the consensus. Oh, because everybody else, that must be the right way. Leslie Class says Moses was sharp, no doubt, indeed. Because guess what? Moses was plugged in. He was a go-between, as he said in this parsha, between Yahweh and the children and the Hebrews, between heaven and this earth. The go-between was Moses. He was like that adapter that you put onto your extension cord when your extension cord is not long enough, and you got to add that adapter to make it connect to power. See him like that in your visualization. He's like that adapter. It was most important in connectivity because you couldn't connect without it. It's like that converter piece. You know, like when you're traveling and you go to some countries and you have virtual power from 40 to 110 and from 110 to 240. You know, you have to have that little adapter, universal adapter you can plug in and you can make the connectivity for all your appliances and your devices can work. That's Moses. That converter. For those that want to be connected to the powers of Israel, to the powers of Jacob, to the powers of King Solomon, to the powers of King David, to the powers of Abraham, to the powers of Abrahamic-Faith, Group of Shem. Not everybody want to be connected to those powers, and so be it. I have no problem with that. But those that want to, my desire is this, is that you continue with your connectivity. Don't break off. Don't say, okay, well, I want to unplug now. I'm done with this. Because I have a better way. Don't be hoodwinked and bamboozled by knowledge and wisdom. Yeah. More or less by that knowledge that you have. You think you got all this knowledge and you're going to go out. You connected for a while, saw some success, now you're going to take the knowledge that you have, disconnect, and go out here and do your own thing. You're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble. And wanting to come back to that connectivity. That's the story that you see about the prodigal son that the religions love to speak about. Prodigal son. And his knowledge, he realized, he thought that he had a better way. Oh, I can go out and do my own thing. Take the money and go get the honey. But he realized that eventually he had to come back to connect the powers. He had to come back and connect the powers. You see? He had to come back and connect the powers. The source. The powers. We have that connection. Don't discount it. But we must continue to be aware. We must continue to be aware. And Moses goes on to say in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 8, again from the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, but because Yahweh loves you, and because he would keep the oath that he had sworn to your avot, to your fathers, has Yahweh brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you out of the base of the house of slavery from the hand of Pharaoh, the king of the Mitzrayim. That oath. Remember, knowing who you are, that oath is still alive and in effect in 2020. Now that you know who you are, you're those descendants, our forefathers, that the power just admiration for them, called us friends. We part of that, Group of Shem. My son continues to teach me lessons on that. I told him went to Israel, see this nice laminated picture of the memorial that they have for Abraham and his location there in Israel. And my son, every time he comes to the study, he sits with me. He sits there and he starts to read the Hebrew. You see his little finger, he puts his, and he's trying to read, and he's pointing and he's saying all kinds of things in baby language, but he looks at that picture. He looks at Moses' place of habitation, his body, that is. Of Abraham. And he continues to study that, and he looks at it, and he gets happy, and he plays with it. I'm like, man, you know who you are. Yes, Abraham is your forefather. My son is teaching me. That's what he says. He's recognized as a baby, 10-month-old baby. Look at him. I mean, I got a lot of things in here that he can look at. You know, I got the Hebrew, you know, the what's up and all of our symbols and, you know, the flag and all these different colors. And what does my son go to? He goes back to Abraham. He's teaching me. Father, I know who I am. Look at him. Look at him. And it's only going to get better because my son he's going to have opportunities that I didn't have as a baby, coming up as a toddler, coming up as a child. But my son will. Because it's just like Moses said. He said, yeah, you're going to be scattered, but hold up, wait a minute. And I'm paraphrasing. Israel will come back. They will come back to power. When they come back to power, power is there waiting on them to come back. Just like the prodigal son's father was embraced with open arms. Come on back, son. You're my son. Yeah, you went out there and did whatever, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? And what I want to say to that is, so what? I want you all to say that right now. Say it. And mean it. Say, so what? So what? Because I want you to utilize this. As your mind want to come in and try to play tricks on and take you back and make you want to regress back into, where you used to be. The grass is green on the other side. Say, so what? So what? I want you to utilize that, because I'm telling you, when your attention is not so attentive, that's when your mind will creep in on you and tell you, well, you've been doing this for a long time and nothing happened. So what? You tell your mind, so what? Well, or when your mind begins to tell you, oh, you remember your mother said you were never going to be nothing, and that you're always not going to be nothing, you're never going to have enough money, you're never going to have a wife, you're never going to have any children. You tell your mind, so what? Or your mind begins to regress and you begin to talk about, well, remember what so-and-so did, and remember how they treated me, and remember, all this, that, the other, and the third, all this negativity. You say, so what? Because all these things your mind is bringing into you is to prevent you and limit you from your success, limit you from your greatness, limit you from your affirming, limit you from your desires being met, limiting you from meeting your mark. These are all limitations that have come in through the mind, based on your past experiences. The mind will try to use your past experiences against you as kryptonite from preventing you from being successful. Trying to marginalize you. When you tell your mind you're the marginalized one, because I'm connected to consciousness. I'm connected to my subconscious, and I'm conscious, and I'm alive. I am awoke, and I am aware of what you're trying to do, but you will not have any success. So what? Those things happened in the past. So what? I'm living in the now. But I can change my situation, and I am changing my situation. I'm not what people say. I'm what I am. I'm not what Mama said. I'm what I am. And that's what I will be, and that's what I am. And so shall it is. This is what we must realize. Because if we don't stay awoke, and we don't stay aware, then we can limit our energy from being powerful. And then before you know it, you begin to agree with your mind. You begin to say, yeah, you're right. All stuff is not working for me. Utilize your mind for the wonderful tool that it is. It's a great tool. But it has habitated your whole being to where your mind thinks for you and use itself. Because the mind has come in and habitated that area. Put the mind in its proper place. Put the mind in its proper place, and you do yourself a great favor. You need to do more mind exercise. Because our mind, yes, we do think alike as the family of Israel, but at the same time, we have our differences. Differences in what? Opinions. Differences in likes and dislikes. I like to eat hummus. I like hummus. Some people don't like hummus. So be it. But I like to eat hummus. I love to eat fish. I'm a big fish fan. Some people don't like fish. But I like fish. Some people in the family don't like that. I love spice. You give me some turmeric and some curry. Oh my goodness. and a chicken, and I'll make a miracle happen. But some people don't like that in the family, and so be it. But that doesn't make them less a family member. That's just part of their character makeup and what they like and what they don't like. We all have different likes, and that's okay. It's okay to have different likes. It's okay to have different dreams. I'm pretty sure the majority of you in this room don't want to go to Pakistan. That's not your desire. But Hakoin loves Pakistan. That's the place of his birth. He's going to love that. Some of you may not have a desire to go to Pakistan. You have other desires. Some of you may not like okra, but I love okra. Some of you may not like eggplant. I love me some eggplant. That's so big. Doesn't make you less of a family member. But don't let those don't let your mind begin to tell you, oh, because you're not like that, you're limited in a way, because you're not like the other family members. You have to be aware of what your mind is trying to do to you, and then deal with it. Combat it. How you combat it, Rabbi Kefa? You say, what? So what your daddy treated you wrong? That don't mean you treat your son wrong. That doesn't mean you treat your daughter wrong. So what? So what? You didn't have a good upbringing. That don't mean, your children can't have a good upbringing, or you can't change, and now your upbringing can't be great. So what? So what about what happened in the past? Tell yourself, so what? And then begin to, rearrange your world the way you want to see it. Now, not in the past or in the future. Well, I don't have enough money right now. So what? Begin to rearrange that too. Do you know you can rearrange? You can rearrange and you can change. You connect to powers of Israel. You can rearrange and change, and however you want it to happen, it's going to happen. Well, I don't have the mental capacity right now to do what I want to do. So what? Rearrange your mental capacity. Begin to tell yourself, you do have the mental capacity to do whatever you want because you're greatness and you're connected to greatness. So what? Because your mind you'll never open up that business. You'll never be successful at whatever. So what? Don't believe the mental hype. Don't believe it. It's just hype. It's hot air to prevent you and limit you from being and doing whatever you want to do in this life. Thus meeting your mark, thus being successful, and making powers just so happen. Because you powered up. Not about a religious mumbo jumbo. You all been there, done that. That's old school. That's old school religious mumbo jumbo, heaven and hell foolishness. Stop the madness. That's all madness. That's for people who are still asleep. Heaven and hell. Forget all that mumbo jumbo. Paradise is now. Tell everybody that on the day. This other day, paradise. Google shit. Another day in paradise. Oh? Still waiting to get there. Well, come wait. Why are you waiting? And wasting a wonderful life. Come wait. Don't wait. Participate in paradise now. Google shit. But again, that's for people that are still asleep. But for those of us that are aware, remember what I wrote down. Energy flows where attention goes. Where's your attention? Majority of folks is on the heaven and the hell right now, believe it or not. In these nations that Moses said we were scattered in. Am I right or wrong? Majority of folks' attention right now is on a heaven or a hell. And guess what? There are a lot of folks that are preying on these people right now in religion. And they just like leeches. They prey on their fears and their weaknesses of a heaven and a hell. And thus go through this period called life and they never leave it. They never meet any mark. And they're totally unhappy. And they totally skip. And they live their life in fear their whole life because, and the fear and worry because they're worried about, am I taking into heaven? Am I going to hell? And they never live life. They're like zombies. But be grateful and show gratitude that you are awoke and you're awake and you're aware and your attention span is where it needs to be on yourself. Put your attention on yourself. And put your mind in the place where it needs to be. Okay, I'm going to get ready to close. Before I do, I want to do this lesson on mind control and controlling your mind and seeing if your mind is in the right place. Quick question. How many women, females, if you're female, I want you to put up an F right now. If you're a female, I want you to put up an F right now. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 females in the room right now. Okay, we're going to do a mind exercise right now. We're going to do a mind exercise. I want you all to begin to think my mind. Think my mind right now. Because I'm going to, right now, first of all, let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to I'm going to give away an awesome t-shirt that has one of our symbols on there that has a meaning of prosperity. Now, listen, if you don't want prosperity, don't participate in this because the church brings in prosperity, but prosperity is not going to make you happy, then it brings in wealth. If wealth not going to make you happy, then this church is not, because at the end of the day, my default setting to you is I want you to be happy. But if you want this t-shirt, if you want happiness, if you want prosperity in your life, if you want wealth in your life, this t-shirt is going to help you do that. So if you don't want this, then please don't participate. So for you, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For the 6 females in the room, okay, all right, let me do this. For the 6 females in the room, and I'm going to use Oliver. Oliver, I want you to, if you can, Oliver, I want you to look at your private IM. I'm going to send you an IM if you can receive it. Just acknowledge that you received what I sent for you in a private IM, Oliver. If you can acknowledge that. Do you have the capabilities of doing that? Can you do that from your front? Did you see what I just sent you? Don't say what I just sent you something. Okay, you got it? Okay, Oliver got it. So Oliver got it, he's my witness. Now, for you, this is a mind control, this is a mind, this is mental on here. Now listen. Now, I want you women in the room that want that shirt. Now, the one who picks this number, I gave Oliver the number. Now, the numbers are from 1 through 10. Now, the women in the room that want this shirt, I have a number in my mind right now. Now, I want you women in this room, take your time. This is a mental lesson, a mental exercise here. I want you to select the number that I picked. Okay? Type it in right now. Select the number that I picked. Okay? Now, Oliver, I want you to confirm the number that I picked. What number did I pick, Oliver? Oliver will tell you. What was the number? Because somebody got it. It was the number 9. Lion Princess, you're the winner. Lion Princess, if you need to send me the details, I'm going to mail you that shirt. I'm going to post it to you. This shirt. It's going to be a large size shirt. Already, it's large, so it may be a little bit big for you. You can just wear it whenever you want to wear it. But this shirt is a t-shirt. It's awesome. You're going to love it, and it's going to assist you and bring it in. See the little bit of exercise we did right now? Brilliant. Now, for the men, time for you to step up. If you're a man, put up an M. You're going to do the same for the men. Now, make sure, Lion Princess, that you send me your details. Send me the details, the post details, and I'll send it. All the men, you need to put up an M. Follow instructions. Men, put up an M right now in the room. It's going to get the same t-shirt. It's going to be extra large size for us men. We don't know we got more muscles in it. So we need to make it for you men. all you men in this room, and I'm going to select a female. You get a female in the room. That's going to be my, all you keep put up your M's if you're in the room right now. Let me select a female. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to select this one. Here we go. Get my right here. And then you still with me? Now I want you to put your mind right. Start to think like Rabbi Kefa. Say you think like Rabbi Kefa, and you will think like Rabbi Kefa. And then you'll be able to, let me send this let me send this message. Okay. All right. Okay. Atara, if you don't mind, did you get the message I sent? I sent you a private IM, Atara. I sent you a private IM. Did you get it? Don't just acknowledge yes or no if you got it, Atara, or if you have the capabilities of getting it. If not, I'll select another female. Mental exercises. I'm telling you something works. Line purpose, you get on. Okay, Atara got it. Now, for you men in the room, I want you to select the number 1 to 10. It's going to lock. The winner will get the t-shirt. The first one out of this. Okay, here we go. All right, there we go. They're coming in. Now, if we have 2 people with the same number, the first one that put out the number is going to get it. Anybody else, any other numbers coming in? I know y'all thinking. Think like Rabbi Kefa. Okay, here we go. Still going in. All right, still going. And as Carl will witness, the number hadn't came up yet. You still got it. Anybody else? You only get one shot at the number. Don't come with 2 or 3 ties now when you're men in the room. If you want this shirt, it's going to bring you wealth and prosperity. Book of Shem. It's going to aid in the sick. Is that all the men? We done? Is that it? Is that all in our selection for the men? How many M's do we have? We have the men. Okay. Since we have such few M's, you get a second go. As you know, a call will tell you that none of the numbers are correct. So everybody gets a second go. Because I'm a firm believer in second chances. Okay, everybody gets a second go. Second go, let's give it a go. Think like Rabbi Kefa. Tell yourself you're thinking like Rabbi Kefa. Think like Rabbi Kefa. Think like Rabbi Kefa. Which number 1 to what? 1 to 10. It's 1 to 10, Rabbi Kefa. Rabbi Kami. 1 to 10, I go in. 1 to 10. Numbers are 1 to 10. 1 to 10. Yeah, okay, numbers went through again. Nobody has guessed the number again. Alright, here's the third go. 1 to 10. This is the third and final go. 3 times, that's it. 3 times. This is the final go. Yeah, they have no problem. Okay, this Oliver's number went in. Numbers keep coming in. Eddie's number went in. Lion King number went in. Okay, good. Done and dusted. Hakoin, I'll give you a last go at it. Hakoin, you get the last go. I think everybody else is through. Hakoin gets the last go at it. Great, so boom. Okay. Atara, please tell them what the number was. Mental thinking. What was the number, Atara? Atara will tell you what the number is. Let's see. The number was sent to Atara. Atara, did you get the number? Simha says no, the number wasn't 8. Simha. What was the number, Atara? Atara has the number. You can just text in the number. Okay, the number was 2. The number was 2. That was the number. Baruch Hashem. So this is a mental state, mental capacity, mental capability, and connecting to the mind. Because our minds can connect, believe it or not. Our minds can connect. And from instruction from this text that we noticed is that we see that women seem to be more connected to the mind of a man than men are connected to the minds of men. Right? Not trying to say yes to that. So this was a great bit of, and we'll do more of this in the future. Do more of this in the future of how we can use our minds to connect to one another. And it can be done. This is quite instructional. To say the least. It's quite instructional. How a woman and man's mind were connected, but men to men seems to be not. But we'll just take studies on this and see where it goes. But it does make perfect sense, right? It does make perfect sense that a next to the mind of a man and a man will connect to the mind of a woman opposed to 2 men's minds connected. So interesting study as we take it further. So on that note, I'll wrap up my lecture for this day. But again, it's all about being what? It's all about being aware. It's utilizing our minds for what they're supposed to be used for and not letting our minds take control over us. Awareness is key. And when you kind of lose that awareness, you begin to tell yourself, so what? Tell yourself, so you begin to take control and want to, make you regress into something that you're not. Remember, begin to use the so what. Tell yourself, so what? So what? What does that have to do with what's going on right now? And you can begin to change your scenario, your whole situation, your whole world, and make it what you want it to be. Whatever your happy place is. Because at the end of the day, my default setting for all of you is to be happy, healthy, and humble. The 3 H's. Happy, healthy, and humble. Right, Nashan? To be happy, healthy, and humble. Nashan says right. So that's where we need to be going forward. And on that note, I'm going to wrap up my lecture and wish you all a great Shabbat ahead. A great Shabbat ahead and a great 6 days of labor ahead as well as you continue to meet your desires, utilize the tools that Hakoyin is equipping us with to connect to power. Baruch Hashem. Me personally, this week, I made a decision to kind of stray away from God and to just go into, because it seems to be more powerful for me, more effective, the powers of Israel, because I got to differentiate. Because remember, we're told in our words, right, in our 10 words, that we're not to do what? That we're not to do what? That our powers shall not have any other powers before us. So again, we have to differentiate. So I want the powers of Israel. I'm talking about the powers of Israel, the powers of Abraham, the powers of Yaakov, the powers of Yitzhak, the powers of Yahudah, the powers of King Dawood, King David, those powers. I want to specify. I want to differentiate so that I'm not deceived and deception is not coming in and cloak something that is not. Don't fall for the cloaking. And I told him said this, and I think it's very important. You have to be very careful to these words that you listen to, these voices. Do they line up with powers? Do they line up with you being happy? The default setting, happy, humble, and healthy. They line up with that, then you're on the right track. But if not, and you might want to tell that one to say, give a so what to that voice, because that voice is taking you down a road that you don't want to go down a path that you want to be bothered with, down the detour that's preventing you. That's a stumbling block in your straight and narrow. So we want to take care of that. And, just in all humbleness and happiness, I'll be sending that other shirt to Anthony anyway, because that's what I do to my brother from the same mother. I'll be sending that shirt out, Cody, in another package that I'm sending. Anyway, Lion Christmas, make sure you get your details up. I'll be shipping your shirt out on this coming up Friday as well. Your shirt will go out to you wherever you are in the world. And from what I understand, you are in the UK. Your shirt will be going to the UK. Good thanks always. And you will see this shirt will be a great blessing to you, and it will help you meet and bring in that prosperity and wealth that you want for yourself. It's a great tool, and it looks beautiful as well. Because I guarantee you, I'm gonna say this, that there's probably less than 1% of the people in the whole of the UK that will have this shirt on. You wear this shirt in public, I can guarantee you that there's probably less than 1% of the people that will even recognize this shirt that you have on when you walk the street and you go about doing your whatever you do there in the UK, doing your great work and all this, that, the other, and the third. The other one is then, are you selling these t-shirts? Eventually, yes, but right now, the answer is no. But eventually, then we'll go out on a worldwide basis. But right now, it's just with the family. And right now, it's just been being given out and circulated out in that kind of measure of love and a measure of just, the loving kindness for my family members. Just thanks always. So we're going to keep it moving forward. And line, for instance, if you would, when you start wearing the shirt and the results do come in, please report back to the family so that they'll know that Rabbi Kefa's not, and Rabbi Simon This is not a bunch of hocus pocus on the ground. So, on that note, we'll wrap it up here. And I'm going to turn it over to Hakohi. You guys have any questions, concerns, please let them be known now, Ms. Fahal. I wear with pride. Thanks again. Nope, you thank yourself because you did it. Self did it. You connected. Mukashim. So we get thanks always. Mukashim. Over to you, Hakohi. Passing the mic.
Today there, Rabbi Kefa. Since how you say the Hebrew word Elohim, Elohim, that is for the powers. Okay? Hopefully that came in clear. Now, there was a woman, a lady who does business, who listens to our lectures, and she asked me a question regarding business. If you want to up your business, I want you to listen to the next part of the recording, and maybe you want to isolate it, maybe you want to cut it, maybe you want to record it in your telephone and play it over and over again. This will enhance your business. I'm going to say some words in Hebrew. I want you to record these. Ke malachav yis avelach lishmocha b'chol durakecha. Ke malachav yis avelach lishmocha b'chol durakecha. Okay, so those are the words. If you have a business that is struggling, I want you to take those words out of the recording, and I want you to play them, in a repetitious way in your home or in your business, preferably your home, and that will generate more. That will help you to generate more sales, and it help your business. Number one. Number two. The second thing. Can I say it again? Okay. Yeah, I can say it again. Let me repeat it. Ke mal'achav yish av elach lishmocha b'chol durach echa. Ke mal'achav yish av elach lishmocha b'chol durach echa. Okay, so I just said it. Now, another testimony. A testimony before I go. I have this home over here that I'm living in, perhaps temporarily. And I wanted to give you a nice little testimony of the Kohen in the gate over here. A few days ago, I had a lizard, pretty long lizard, who came into the house, running from outside. He came into the house, and people over here screaming. The lizard came in, but the lizard came in, and I was standing outside, and I came into the house to get the lizard. Of course, the lizard then ran back and went out into the yard. Didn't do nothing, didn't say nothing, didn't bite anybody. So there was a lizard here, and there was 4 people standing here about 3 days ago. 4 of the family members were standing outside, and they saw about a 3-foot snake outside by the door next to the grass. He kind of came out, and then he went back in under the grass, and they reported it was a snake with a stripe, with a color on it. And I said to them, I said, leave that snake alone, because that snake is a friend of mine. He is here to protect the property. And they went, and nobody seen that snake since that day. He obviously lives there. He lives in front of the house, right by the house property edge. And this lizard also lives close by. And so these are extremely, extremely good signs. When you see signs like these, you don't have fear, and you don't run in panic. You actually give thanks, because these creatures are sent by the powers we serve to protect us and to benefit us. They will not say anything to my household, provided my household don't go provoke them. So that's another thing. So I explained to my household, I said, you're not to be afraid. These are my friends. They have come over here to be close to the Kohen, because they see a power over here. They see an energy over here that they are attracted to, and they will stay here, the best time they want to. And, we don't say nothing to them. We let them be, we let them continue in their path, and we let them live. So that's very important to understand that. Because there is a story in the Mishnah about Judah Hanasi. And Judah Hanasi, what he did, he was a wealthy man in his time. he was friends of the kings in his time, and he had some creatures in his home. I guess you could say they're a bit like mice maybe, or rats possibly. And he had those creatures in his home, and he had them kicked out. He got his servants, and he removed those creatures and, removed them outside his house. Now whether they killed those creatures or whether they just removed them, he did that. He asked them to remove them, and they did. And what happened subsequently, he became ill. He started to get problems in his stomach and in his legs, and he suffered with that many years. Then one day he realized that he shouldn't have done that. He wasn't meant to get rid of those creatures. They were meant to be in his house. And then he regretted his action, and he sought forgiveness from Hashem, from Yahweh, and then Yahweh of course forgave him, and then he got healed after that. So, a very, very important lesson for all of you. If you see creatures that are around about your home, might be, in America you see a lot of the time squirrels, you might see rabbits, they all have meaning behind them. Rabbits here, they have a meaning of multiplicity, abundance, birth, multiplication. That's a rabbit if you see a rabbit. And if you see insects as well, yes, insects as well. And if you see, for instance, squirrels have meanings. If you see birds, different types of birds, they have meanings. So each of these creatures that get attracted to your house, they have meaning. Yeah, by the way, I have some frogs living here. I saw some frogs when I came into the house. They were like right at the corner of the house on the right hand side. And I said, don't touch those frogs. Leave them alone. They came in Egypt to us to help us. Remember the frogs came into Egypt to help us, and they jumped into the ovens of the Egyptians. They committed suicide. They burned themselves alive. And the rabbis say that the frogs taught us how to die for Hashem. So with that, of course, any creatures that you deal with them gently, with love, with care, so you don't stamp on creatures, you don't kill them, because they always have a purpose inside the house. Of course, if you're going to get mosquitoes who come and bite you, you're going to deal with that as a different play altogether, flies and mosquitoes, you're going to deal with those. But I'm going to give you a little testimony. And yeah, absolutely, I'm going to give you a little testimony, and this has happened to me numerous times. I was in Africa, and these mosquitoes would come to the table. Where I was sitting on a bed, and there was like a table there, and they would come over there, and they would fall dead. They would not come, they would not get to me, they would fall dead on the table. And there was numerous of them falling on the table, and I looked at them, and I had no liquid medicine or anything on my skin for protection, but they were falling dead, by the way. And I saw something similar over here. I saw something similar where these flying, winged creatures, maybe they were mosquitoes, maybe they were something else, looked like mosquitoes, and they came, close to my bed, but they fell down, and they're dead on the floor. And again, I used no sprays. I didn't use any mosquito, repellents, nothing like that. So I've witnessed that a number of times already, 3 times so far in my travels. So what I tend to do is I don't tend to, bigger creatures like snakes and things, I don't, go out and intimidate them because they have a meaning for me. So I keep, let them roll. They are protection. They have incredible good meaning for the people that they come close to, but then again they're not the attacking type. They don't come and attack you. They're just there, close, around you, and that's because your energy attracts those things, and they get attracted. And then I heard that there's wolves in this area, and one guy is coming to think, there's wolves in this area. And they come out at night. But I must say that I haven't seen a wolf yet, but they claim that there's wolves in this area because this is like a new development. People are moving here, new development, and it was before it was developed, this area was all, open land, grass, open land, fields, people are growing things over here. Some people are still growing things over here, but this is like a development where a lot of people are moving in step by step. But yeah, you get to see different features. So people who dwell in cities, they're not used to seeing lizards and snakes. They might see the odd one here and there, especially the snake, and they'll kill it, but they're not used to seeing lizards, especially because these are not common things in the cities. You might get the odd snake come up and they'll kill it. And there was an incident in the north of the country, far north of the country, where they found a snake in the house. Listen to this. There was a long snake in the house in the other property that I dwelled in, and they killed it. And I said to them, "Why did you kill that snake?" Yes, I wouldn't know what to do with it. It might have harmed somebody. I said, "No, it will never harm any of you. You shouldn't have killed the snake." So they killed the snake in the north of the country, far north of the country, where actually I have my dwelling there. I do go there and stay in that house. And so there was a bigger snake there, and he was only in the plants. He wasn't inside the property. He was like where the garage is, and there were some plants there. He was underneath there. And so the girl reported there that he was disturbing the plants. He wasn't really attacking anybody. And I said, did he attack anybody? She said, no. And I said, why you kill him? She said, no, I didn't kill him, but the neighbors came, and when they heard about the snake, they came and they killed him. I said, no, you shouldn't have killed him. It was very bad. You should not have killed him. So anyhow, we got that away. So both sides of the home, this home and that home, had a snake. Think about that. Okay, so with that I'm going to leave you, and have a great Shabbat ahead. Until next week, Shabbat Shalom.